What you want to talk about?
Welcome back to the Astro Summit 2.0, Astrology Secrets to Passion, Purpose, Health, and Wealth. My name's Amanda Poole-Walsh, and I'm the co-founder of Astrology Hub. And I am so thrilled to be here today with Debra Silverman. She is one of my very favorite astrologers. Debra, and this is so true, this beginning part of your bio. Debra is part comedian, part psychologist, part astrology, and all real. This is so true. She helps people turn on their own inner observer to see the things they say and do in a totally objective way. Debra has been in private practice for over 38 years, and she uses astrology and her own system called the 4 Elements, or 4E for short, as tools to help people step into their power. And so Debra let me know before we started that the main focus of her readings that are so very popular across the world is all on Saturn. So we are going to actually be talking today about Saturn transits. You're going to want to grab your pen and paper and make sure that you stay until the end, because Debra is going to teach us how to determine the Saturn transit, how karma affects good or bad change in your life, and when your next turning point is. So just like with all the astrologers, I'm asking a few questions, Debra, just so that everybody can have a chance to get to know you a little bit better. And the first question is, what attracted you to the field of astrology in the first place?
You know, it's so funny because I'm writing my second book, and it's going to be called the I Don't Believe in Astrology book.
Nice. I love that.
And I was thinking about, this is so curious. When I was very young, when I was in elementary school, I saw an ad in the Detroit News that was write away for your chart. I mean, I didn't even know what it meant. And I filled it out, didn't really know how to do it. And when it came back to my house, it had the wrong birth date. So it was, and I had no idea how to return it. I must have been like 8 to 10 years old. That's all I remember, was being out, like writing my little handwriting to get the clearly astrology was calling my name at a very young age. And then by the time I was in high school, I knew every single person's sign. It's so funny. And I went to my reunion, my 40th high school reunion, and I looked around the room and I still knew. I think I'm an idiot of savant. Like something's wrong with my brain, because I only remember charts, not where my purse is or what day it is or where I put my wallet. But I do have this crazy memory. Like I can look at you, I see you're Aquarius Capricorn right now while we're talking. That's all I see. So the interest came at a very young age. I clearly, and this is why this conversation today is so meaningful, I have Saturn. All my planets are at the top of my house, top of the houses on the top horizon, but Saturn on my chart is in the bottom, and it's opposite my sun, it's opposite my Venus, it's in a part of a grand trine, and ultimately it's part of a yod. It points to Saturn. So I have a very significant Saturn, which describes destiny. So at a very young age, astrology found me. And then by the time I was 20, I was doing astrology. And I think it's because, and there's some of you out there who either have been from Egypt, like you've had 35 past lives, like I know that's true of you. You have some mystical, magical memory. It's not conscious, but it's in your collective, in your subconscious, in the back chambers. And the gift that you're doing in your work, Amanda, is you're setting off the bells. You're reminding us of a part of ourselves. So it was very clear for me that the mothership had come to see me at a young age when I was a little girl, landed in my room and kind of unconsciously programmed. And then as soon as I began as an astrologer at the sweet age of 20. I'm now 60, and it's been nothing but a downhill, easy ride because it was so instinctual.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, do you still find like a growing edge for yourself? I mean, do you still...
Every single day I have been doing, and that's my thing with Saturn as our topic today. One of the things that I found, because I've now hung out with some very successful people, my career has lent itself to me working with some stars and blah, blah, blah. But the people that I see that are the most successful have discipline, which is Saturn. And what is discipline? It's not, I have to do this. It's, I want to do it because why? Because I remember my spiritual promise. So I don't want to get back home to where we go to the council. I believe there's a council. And then say, Debra, what were you doing? And me say, I was kind of sleeping on so Saturn has been inspiring me to discipline, to do my practice. So I've never gotten bored. Plus my Saturn's in Sag. So it keeps me a little tickled, but because, Sagittarians entertain themselves by the hours. But I really believe that if you do something consistently, from yoga to cooking to mothering to loving, anything you do consistently, to cleaning, even though it may seem simple, it does create mastery. And so I've been doing readings, honestly, every day. My assistants and my team can't stand me because I don't stop. Saturn's opposite my sun. I get so off on every chart I look at.
Oh my gosh, Debra, that's so awesome. How many readings do you do like a week?
I don't want to tell.
Oh my gosh. Well, and the fact that you remember mine is amazing, because I think I must have been one of like, thousands and thousands.
Well, I can see your Aquarius. I can see the Capricorn. I mean, it's very, to anyone out there who's been doing astrology, we get stuck in our head with the memory of the chart.
Right, right. It's incredible. Okay.
Don't you have Leo with that curly hairdo?
I do. I have Mars and Leo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So my question and my next one is, what are you the most passionate about in the field of astrology today?
Well, this conversation we're about to have today, Saturn is my most passionate planet. And I've always wanted a bumper sticker that said Saturn is my favorite planet, because they get such a bad write-up.
Totally.
Except Liz Green wrote a beautiful book, A New Look at the Old Devil. I find the purpose of Saturn and I can't imagine being on this planet without a purpose. I don't like it here so much. I know it sounds bad. I find this place a little bit, a lot mean and very unconscious as far as the planet I'm from. So it's been a stretch. But when I discovered discipline and I discovered the spiritual practice of consistency and how much value I got from serving people with that promise that I would consistently give, life has given back to me way more than I could have ever imagined. And I'm in my Saturn return today. So I'm in, the exact degree. I'm like a little bit less than a degree off. So I'm really feeling the fruits of something consistent. And so my passion is not diminished. And I would say my biggest love of astrology is watching how Saturn works. And when I teach in the course, the way I establish credibility with every client and every session that I do, I feel like I'm giving you my secret, is I start every session by saying to somebody, tell me what happened during your Saturn return. And I figure it out. And then I just add 7 years. Every 7-year cycle, the 7-year itch, without fail, 98% accurate, you will have a template shift. I love that. You will have either your personality will go through a change, you'll make a move, you'll change jobs, but something major will happen.
Debra, I love that you're talking about Saturn and discipline, because as a Capricorn Sun, Venus, and Mercury, I have just recently sort of reintegrated that part of myself. So I went from the extremes. I was in New York and doing the real extreme Capricorn thing. Then I moved to Hawaii and been doing the real extreme, Aquarius or something thing. But recently it's about coming in the middle and really embracing both aspects. And I gotta say, I'm with you on this consistency and the discipline, and there's actually joy in that. When we're serving and when we're doing something that we love, there's so much joy, because with each step there is that opportunity for mastery and for just getting better and better. So yes, I'm totally with you on that.
You're so right. I love Capricorns. The thing is that when you do discipline and it's boring, because now at 60, I can look back and see that I've been doing the same career. I've been an astrologer full-time and a psychologist for all these years. And it's become from being so exciting when I started to being boring and pissing me off to being totally exciting now as I've matured and as I've watched mastery, and I realize now that I can totally trust every reading I do rather than being scared or trying to overwhelm someone. I only do 45-minute sessions. I'm like, if I can't affect you concisely in a small time where I can really give you your life purpose, and don't talk to me. Wow. So that quality of repetition and structure and going past it and staying with it and doing the middle land, which is you stay with what's boring, but you spice it up with a little fun factor.
I love it. I totally do. Yeah, there's no question. Okay, so my first question in terms of Saturn is, sorry, what's the signature of Saturn and why does it mean so much to you?
Perfect. The signature is clearly this old man. I'd like to think of him as a high school principal. He hits you on the shoulder. He goes, you come here. So he's not friendly. He's got your best interest in mind, but he doesn't come with a soft touch. And he wants you to answer these questions. What are you doing? Why aren't you doing this? When are you going to get your shit together? Are you in the right relationship? Are you taking care of your body? He's like kind of unfriendly, but it's all the important questions. So think of Saturn. I kind of changed him from the high school principal to this woman with big boobs. I didn't know how to, I thought of this older woman with big boobs who's kind of like aging and saging, and she's not friendly, but you can't help but want to go to her house because she's going to give you some very good, clean food and say to you, honey, let's get real. So that's what I like about Saturn. It's a somber, stoic, serious look at where in your life do you made a promise to come down here, so stop complaining, and now let's get on with it.
Awesome. Okay, so can we go through each of the signs, and can you tell us what the Saturn placement means in terms of life purpose?
I just got the willies. It's funny. I can feel spirit. The thing is, what I hope, and I don't know if we'll get time, but in the class that I teach, you learn much more about the cycles. I'm going to teach you today where the placement is when you were born with it, my interpretation of it, which we are going to be working on a whole chapter of a book that I'm on. But ultimately, as an astrologer, any of you that are astrologers, it's like the secret code. I just want to tell you one short story. There was 2 men recently on Zoom that I was doing a reading for corporate men, and I got disconnected, and so I came back in and I could hear them talking. And they didn't know I was there yet because it was before it clicked. And I could hear one say to because I had just done their Saturn cycles, both of them independently. I gave them and they had both just changed their career that year. And then they got their raise that year. And then they got promoted that year. And I could hear one say to the other, how did she know those years? That was so impressive. And that was what I had planned on doing, was always starting the session with a concrete example that astrology works, so that it suspends all their dislogic, their disbelief. And then I can enter into the conversation. So we can't cover everything today, but I will give you, certainly this is important. Let's start with Saturn and Aries. So these are people, let's just look at the years they were born. I think it was I want to say Saturn was in Aries in 1998. I'm going to get confused. This is sad because I usually have them all memorized. Yeah, it was true. It was 1998. So it was 68 and then it was 1938. That's right. That's when Saturn was in Aries. I have this crazy relationship with Saturn. So these are people that are here to fight. And they're now here's the deal, you said it so well. Saturn is an extremist, all Capricorns are. They're either one way or the other. They're never beige. So either Saturn's in Aries and you love to fight and you're feisty and you're pissed off and you step up and you step in and you push, or you're really scared about fighting and you resist it and you avoid conflicts and you drive the other way. In either case, the goal of this game, which you named, is to get into the middle land and be able to step into the fight or step away from it. But that's the challenge of Saturn and Aries. And always Saturn's an extremist. And the way I describe it is, if you think of the mountain climber, the goat is what rules Capricorn. I don't know if you've ever seen a goat in Hawaii.
Yeah, we have lots of goats.
They walk, they stop, and they don't move. Then they walk up, they stop. It's just like what Saturn does. They are super hard workers and they don't want to play at all. And they cut everything up, they're taking a holiday, and you're like, what? That person looks lazy. Then they go work, way longer than all of us. Then they stop. And they throw it all away. They're extreme. That's what goats do. When you see a goat standing on a mountain, just standing there, like, really? That's it? That's all you got?
They're so cute. Oh my God. Yeah. All right. So Saturn and Aries.
So their life lesson is clearly about the right use of anger and the right use of feistiness and being uninhibited to stand up. And they've got to learn, here's the word for them, they have to learn to be independent. And that means stepping away from the group. I just did a session this morning for someone with this. And I had to say to her, look, you got to be bossy. You have to push. But some people are really good at it. Good for you. Saturn's working on your team. Some people are avoiding it. Saturn and Taurus. So this was in 2000 was the last time Saturn was in Taurus. And then you go 30s, 1970, 1940. Those were the years that Saturn was in Taurus. This is the quality. This is not an easy one. These people have a tendency to be very stuck at their worst. Their life lesson is to hold on for dear life. So it goes one of two ways. Either they're very bound by practicality and they really get attached to money and they're secure, they can't move. Or they avoid promises of being land. They travel all the time and they don't want to land. They don't want to have routine. They don't want to have ritual. And I have to say to them, listen, if your Saturn's in Taurus, you don't have ritual, you're not following your promise. So the promise of this one is, can I aim at consistency, practicality, and not call it boring? That's the life lesson. And I always say to them, this is the turtle. It's okay to go slow. They hate hearing this. Some of them are good at it, but they still feel bad about it. There's nothing wrong with being a turtle, said Saturn. Who won the race? Saturn in Gemini happened in 2003, happened in 1973, happened in 1943. It's there for 2.5 years. Saturn stays in the same cycle for 2.5 years. This is the life lesson of these people born in 73. They change their mind all the time. They can't commit. And they have a very large range in their career of what they want to do. So, for example, they can be a computer wizard, and then they can go do martial arts. And then suddenly they want to go be a chef. I'm thinking of someone I know. And then suddenly they want to go teach schooling, and they become very ambivalent about themselves because they change so much. Well, that's their life lesson. But if they're stuck in their head, if Saturn's in Gemini and you don't use it properly, you aren't doing your mental constant. You're not thinking. You're not studying. You're not learning, and you're not letting your mind, and it becomes very indecisive, and they get very confused, these people. They can really be hard on themselves because they feel like they should not change all the time. I'm just thinking of another client I have and how smart he is. And I always have to say to him, okay, can you tell me what you're feeling for half a minute? Because tracking you is like what's that guy's name? Speedy Gonzalez. So they need to learn, not Taurus, like go slow, but their life lesson is the mental acceptance that they do love change and they need to talk. Saturn in Cancer, it happened in 2004. It happened in, what would be 30 years before that, I'm having a brain fart. Saturn in Cancer. I think it was 1944, 1974, 2004. It's in around there. You'll know if Saturn's in Cancer. This one is karmic. This is not an easy one. They came with family inheritance, not money, but karma. So they either have issues with their mothers or they have issues with their families, and they can't get it off them. And they do need to do therapy. They need permission. Now there's extremes. So either they're super emotional or they avoid their feelings at all costs and they're cold fish. See how Capricorn always has a fork in the road, extreme, one or the other. And you as an astrologer want to look and say, which one am I doing? If you're at the high road of Saturn in Cancer, you've done therapy, you've worked on your mother issues, you've become a counselor yourself. If you've done the low level of Saturn in Cancer, you still have this kind of chip on your shoulder and you're grumpy and you're moody. Yeah. I actually find Saturn and Cancer as very devoted people, though. They have a very strong spiritual. I think Cancer is underrated, to tell you the truth. I have a whole belief about Cancer. And Alice Bailey in the Esoteric Law, it's the highest sign. We're in it right now because if you can deal with the human condition and the emotional body, you've made it here. Because there's nothing worse on this planet than how sensitive we are and how goofy we are and how our childhoods never leave us alone.
Seriously, or how we avoid things. I mean,
yeah, we avoid conflict because we're emotional wrecks. And
yeah.
Like, I love admitting that I'm all screwed up. Okay, Saturn in Leo is 2005, so that would be 75, was 45. So these are people that are born with a very strong, I'm just thinking of someone I know, need for attention. Now, it can go one of two ways. Either they really call attention to themselves. I love this woman. She always sits like this. She has all that stuff done to her face, and she's always dressed to the nines, and she has long eyelashes and flips. Or Saturn in Leo, I don't want to be noticed. I don't want to be seen. Quit looking at me. Stop making me a big deal. But your life lesson is you promise this life to show up and show off. Just like Cancer, you promise to be emotional. Just like Gemini, you promise to be this thinker. Just like Taurus, you said you'd go slow. Just like Aries, you said you'd be independent. So if you're taking the high road, and like her Saturn in Leo, she's doing it well. I mean, it's a little offensive if you want attention, but I happen to find them very entertaining. It makes me be quiet. That's why I like them.
Have you found too that people maybe express one extreme when they're younger and then they express the other extreme when they're older, or kind of flip-flop?
The rising sign. The rising sign radically changes. As a young person, you do your rising sign. As an older person, it goes away. I don't think Saturn ever leaves. I think it goes the whole time. I think it's present, and whether or not someone's using it easily or not is determined by their karma. Some people have come in with good, solid karma spiritually. I'm talking spiritual karma, that they've evolved. And they've really celebrated their Saturn. And some people are just in the first row of the class called I don't like it. And they're not wanting to do it. Saturn in Virgo. This was 2007, 2008. This was, take me back 30 years. 2007. Minus 2007 from 30. You figure it out. 73.
Wait.
2007 minus 30 is 2003. No, sorry, 1973.
Wait, how's that possible?
I made that up. Okay, don't worry about it. Saturn in Virgo. Look at every made a mistake on Saturn in Virgo. The good thing you need to know, Saturn return was in 2007. If you turned 30 in 2007 or 2008, you were Saturn in Virgo.
Okay.
So it was 1949. That one I know. It was 1948, 49. Saturn was in Virgo. Then 78, 79. Then 2007, 2008. There it is. 78, 79. Saturn was in Virgo. Just took me a minute. Don't judge me, Virgos. These are people that judge themselves. This is one of the hardest placements I've ever seen. They don't let up. There is an internal dialogue that even if they're good at something, and you see Saturn and Virgos, they're so excellent at what they do, but they turn in on themselves. Now, the high road is they learn that by Saturn return. By the time they turn 30, they start to release some of that. The low road is it never goes away. And so they're either super picky and detailed or they're sloppy. Saturn and Virgo can hate details or love details, but your promise was you would do details, so be honest. Where's your Saturn, Amanda?
Leo.
And oh God, look at you. And you're doing a great job. And you're always shy. You know that Leo's the shyest sign of the zodiac.
Yeah. No, I didn't know that.
They hate all the attention. They'll only do it when they have their little mask on. Look at you. Their little outfit. But
Right.
when they're not looking, they're like, don't look at me.
Oh, totally. I can totally relate with that.
That's so funny. I was like, feeling I just passed you up. Saturn and Virgo, giving themselves permission to be in the quest for ideal perfection, but give up on it and be kind about it. Saturn in Libra. This is exalted. Every sign has a planet that loves to be in it. It's called exalted, the most comfortable placement for it. Saturn loves to be in Libra. Why? Because the hardest lesson on this planet is relationship. You want your shit to show up. You want to have to face yourself. You want to be sad. You want to be heartbroken. You want to fall in love. You want to have sex. Do Saturn in Libra. But the funny thing about them is they either don't do relationship, Saturn in Libra, they avoid relationships, or they are so good at it and so committed, and they find their partner at a young age. This can be, by the way, these Saturn positions also work with the houses, but we're just sticking with the signs. It's because Saturn in the 7th house can indicate a very refined relationship, but it goes extreme. Some of them don't want to play at all. They don't want to do it. They're like, I don't want to be in a relationship. They do this thing like, I'm so glad you're here. When are you leaving? I love to close to you. I can't wait to go.
Yeah.
That's the indecisive guy or woman.
My Saturn's in the 7th house too.
So the exaltation of it is you came in this life to promise you would learn the hardest lesson. Talk about discipline. Talk about stick-it-to-itness. Talk about routine and getting bored and getting mad. Everything happens in the cauldron of relationship. But we have the option to actually choose it. And that's the power. When you choose your partner, and I work with clients all the time that have broken hearts or have broken relations, I say, wait a minute. You have to either choose him or her or stop complaining. But Saturn and Libra, I'm not really happy, but I like him, really? So it's decisiveness. Saturn and Scorpio. This one is 1954, 1984, 2013 to 14 was a Saturn return. Saturn and Scorpio is a very interesting one. Not easy, not a comfortable placement, because your life lesson is your shadow. Now, who wants to do this one? I mean, Libra's hard, but at least everybody's in a relationship. Saturn and Scorpio is how do you deal with money? How do you deal with power? Are you willing to deal with your shadow? And by the way, if you don't deal with your Saturn and Scorpio, somebody in your life will come in and make the shadow so fat and ugly. So they always have to deal with people's shadows. Now, they have two choices. One is to celebrate the shadow. Like if you're anything to do with psychology, go straight in. But if you're reluctant or you're embarrassed or you hate it or the stupid spiritual, you wouldn't be watching Astrology Hub. But if you're doing a reading for someone who doesn't really want to deal with their shadow, you're going to bump into a brick wall. So Saturn and Scorpio, they just had that big Saturn return in 2014 and 15. And it's definitely the time where people had to face their unconscious. That's Scorpio. And this is the biggest issue with them is control. Saturn and Scorpio hate letting go of control. Like they don't want to drink too much. They don't want to party too hard. They don't want to give people free. They're possessive because they don't trust. So I would say Saturn and Scorpio's biggest issue is trust. Saturn and Sag, I speak with experience. We are in Saturn return right now. Here it is, 2016. Saturn was in Sag, and I can speak for myself, 1957. 56, 57, 1986, 87, 2016, 2017. This one is a interesting one. It's about indulgence. It's the life lesson of, can I, I never had a drink till I was 40 years old. How do you like that? That was like, I think, God's way of saying, Deborah, because Saturn and Sag is, you have to know your boundary, but you have to indulge. That was extreme. That was me doing the extreme version. Like, and then I moved to Napa when I finally started drinking that stuff.
Oh my God.
It's just so funny. But, the thing with Saturn and Sag is they're a natural philosopher. They have instinctual energy, but their life lesson is, how do I focus my spirituality and stay in the fun factor? Because they either go too far into the fun and travel and become very indulgent and kind of whimsical and laugh too much, or they're super serious. Saturn and Sag can take life so seriously and be a philosopher that goes to the existential thing and starts saying nothing really matters and I've given up hope. So the life lesson of Saturn and Sag is hope. I never said that before. I like it. I'm channeling. Saturn in Sag, indulgence as well. Learning moderation would be their life lesson. In the tarot deck, the Sag card is the Wheel of Fortune. Like, you spin it, it's all fun and fun and fun, and you got to wait till it stops. You can't keep indulging all the time. You got to just spin it once and then move on. Don't keep partying all the time. I wish I had that problem. I'm too serious. My Saturn and Sag didn't get the best of me. I did the high road. I did lots and lots of discipline around philosophy and spirituality and studying. Saturn and Capricorn. These are the workaholics in the zodiac. This is the natural placement. If Saturn's exalted in Libra, it's extremely comfortable in Capricorn. They have one of two flavors. They're either workaholics, they're very ambitious, they have high standards, they're excellent at what they do, or they're lazy. And they don't really want to work, but they do, but they complain. And they prosper in the second half of their life, Saturn and Capricorn. They're late bloomers. I would say Saturn and Cap's gift is a refined expression for excellence, a natural sophistication around refinement, beauty, aesthetic. The downside is they are snobs, prestigious. They get stuck in the way things look. Yeah.
What year is that? What years?
1960 that happened, 1990. Let's see, 1990 Saturn was in Capricorn, and then add 30 years. Oh, it'll be not until next year, until 2007, 2018, 2019 is Saturn return.
Okay.
Yeah, they were born in 60. Saturn and Aquarius. This was 62, 63, 92, 93. It will be in 2018, 2019. These are people who, Saturn and Aquarius, they're crazy. They're geniuses. They're great astrologers. Any of you that have Saturn and Aquarius, they have an instinctual gift for stepping off the mainstream and thinking independently. And what does it take to be an astrologer? See, the problem with astrology is people are so weird, no one believes in it. That's how bad it got. But I've made it English. I'm like, can we just cut let's apply this. I don't want to hear the 35, I went to an astrology conference once and I left there with stars, that cartoon thing where they hit you on the head and there's stars everywhere. I couldn't track it because I wanted someone to say, hi, Deborah, not, oh, you're a Gemini with moon. Just give me 10 minutes of being real and then we can do. So Saturn and Aquarius is either you're really eccentric, you don't fit in, you feel separate all the time, you don't belong to your family or your group anywhere, or you're really good at creating community and you've started your own tribe. That's what happens a lot in my school. All these weird people get together. They say, this is what they said today. Someone said this to me. I never wanted to be part of a group until I was part of this group because we're all the weird people. Because we want to get stuck. Saturn and Aquarius does not want to be in a limited experience, but to be so free and never want to commit and never want to apply yourself because you so don't agree makes you detached and it disengages you from your contribution. Saturn and Aquarius at its best, you figured out what you want to do. You're going to do it no matter what, and you don't care what people think. So you don't go to school. They don't go to school. They don't want to go to university traditionally. Good for them, but find something to do. And Saturn and Pisces, 1964, 1994, it's going to come back in 2019 or 20 or something. No, it's way out there. I don't know where it is, Saturn return. If you're born in 1994, your Saturn return 30 years will be 1924. See, I'm smarter than I look. So this one is, these people, Saturn and Pisces, not an easy one. At worst, they're deceptive. They can't figure out what they're here to do. They tend to be drug, alcohol oriented. They don't have a boundary. They find themselves without a rudder. At best, they're an artist. And they've distinguished their unique Piscean flavor, and they're doing it with conviction rather than confusion. So if your Saturn's in Pisces and you can say, you know what, I know I'm a space cadet, but I've really made a practice of meditation or yoga, or I've really studied astrology. It's a great position for astrologers. And I'm using my compassion, but I've got discipline. Now that's a big one. If you can use discipline with Saturn in Pisces, you've got a running start. Otherwise, those Pisces. I love them in the name of the artist, but boy, can they be challenged in the name of the human.
Okay, Debra. Awesome. So helpful. I'm really wanting to figure out my children.
What year? Tell me what year they're born.
2008 is my oldest, and then 2011.
And Saturn in Libra. We left that out, 2011. So the 2008's the perfectionist kid.
Oh, yeah.
They get driven crazy. And the 2011 is the pleaser. Do you like me? Do you like me? Do you like me? So it trumps, I hate using that word, it trumps your natal sun.
Wow. Fascinating.
Saturn is a shortcut. It is a shortcut. It gives you and the thing is, no matter how many times I say it, if you really did learn your Saturn, which even I'm guilty of this, it would change your life. But we resist. Think of the high school principal coming and saying, you're like, oh no. And he's going to want to, like, he'll talk to your kid that's 2008. Let's talk about the critic. And the kid's like, I don't want to talk about that. And it's like, you think you're so imperfect. You're criticizing yourself. You feel self-conscious. You're picking at everything. And the kid's like, leave me alone. So until you can look straight at Saturn and go, I like this conversation, until you can do that, we're in a pickle.
Wow, interesting. I mean, I have to say, I was the person who ran from the camera, I was like, if someone had a video camera, I was like, hide. It's taken a lot of time before I can do this comfortably, but I know I'm supposed to.
But I bet 2005 was a big turning point for you.
2005. Yeah. That's interesting. That's right around when I got to think that through. I need to go back and look at 2005.
When you were 30.
Oh, when I was 30. Oh, yes, of course. That's when I got pregnant with Madeline, with my first daughter. And
that's destiny. That's when Saturn, people get pregnant, they get married, they get divorced, they end relationships, they have a death. It's unbelievably consistent.
Yeah, wait, how is that true? I'm screwing up. Anyways.
Was your daughter born when you were 30?
Well, yeah, but she was born in 2008.
Oh, that was the other daughter. That's the daughter with Virgo. No, so your Saturn's not, is your Saturn in Virgo or in Leo?
Leo.
You're so cute. What year were you born?
78, January.
Yeah, so then your Saturn's in Leo. You're safe. Yeah, it's not always exactly 30 years.
Right.
So that's really good. Thank you for saying that. It's a 2.5-year window that Saturn's in one sign. Do me a favor, everyone. Look at your ephemeris, you beginner astrologers. Do not use Debra Silverman's systemite, because I gave you 1 year out of a 2.5 year. 2008, if you were born in 78, yes, you had Saturn in Leo.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So yes, when I was 30, I had my daughter, and she was like my spiritual awakening. Everything happened from that point.
That's called Saturn return. And that's why my system is, all I'm interested in is when you woke up.
Yeah.
And when I don't care about hearing the rest of the stories. And that's what I'm here to facilitate in other people, how to help them wake up.
Wow. Interesting. Okay. So tell us a little bit about how karma affects good or bad change in our lives.
So you can tell during a Saturn transit, so 28 to 30, 37, like between 36 and 37, between 44 and 43, when those times come, and I start every session with this, if someone says to me, God, everything went wrong, that was when I say, the words good and bad karma are dangerous, because karma is an indifferent word. It is simply a energetic return. And we tend to think of good karma is, I just bought a new house and fell in love. Bad karma is I lost my house and I lost my husband. So yes, that's true. It's good and bad, but who knows? We don't know what the lessons are we're here to learn. It's so sad, because I think I had 45 lifetimes in a row where it was really hard. And this lifetime, when they told me to do discipline at a young age, when I'm in, I got the teaching, like, don't push, don't hit, don't throw things at me. I got it. But I can guarantee you, I had many lifetimes before where I was like, la, la, la. So Saturn and karma is only bad when you don't get the lesson. That's the only time karma is really, like, if you repeat yourself over and over again and every Saturn transit's a drama, then I can say to you, what is wrong with you? But if you say to me, you know what? This is what happened during my Saturn return. It was so hard. But at 37, I stepped up. And at 44, it was even higher. And then at 50, like the next one at 50, 51, I suddenly changed everything. And then I go, good for you. Your karma came, knocked on the door, and you said, I'm here. That's all I want you to envision. If the high school principal came to you right now, just take a minute and think, and he said, he's going to talk to you about wherever your Saturn is. So yours is in Leo. So he's going to say to you, how are you doing about showing off and being on a video and giving yourself permission to be the centerpiece? And you said, honestly, I'm really giving it my all. Look at my hairdo. And he said, good for you, Amanda, you're in. Then you come to the front of the room. But if he said to you, how are you doing? You're like, you know what? I hate being on video. I don't want to be the one that makes the mistake publicly. I don't want to be seen. He'd be like, try again later.
Wow. Fascinating. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love thinking about Saturn as like I like the master teacher, that you don't want them to go easy on you because you're coming to really hone something. So you want the teacher that's like, actually, that's not quite right. And, tighten that up and do, it's like I dance hula, which you dance hula too, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So you want the teacher that's going to really talk to you about your hands and your eyes and all of it so that you can be a beautiful hula dancer.
The best teachers are the ones that keep their attention. They don't let up. But that's only if this is all I want you to listen, all of you listening to this show, to this talk, you have to ask yourself, because see, we play spiritually and we do this thing called shopping. We go, spiritual and metaphysical shopping, and we read and we eat the books. We got them in the backpack. We got them on the side of our bed. We got the little highlighter. But the integration only occurs when your teacher says, now go. In my school, what I love doing at the level, there's 3 levels, level 3, is I push them off the bus and I go, now I give them clients. You go do a reading and record it and send. They go, no. I go, yes. I don't care how good or bad. I want you to go do it. That's a good teacher. Don't keep talking about the spiritual. Go help people.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Debra, you're doing amazing work. And I know your school is just like busting at the seams. And I definitely want to talk about that in a second. But let's talk a little bit about the free gift that you're offering the audience, which is meditations on grounding, joy, and trust. Can you tell us about that?
They're just 5 minutes long. They're a button. It's really soothing because my Mercury's in Taurus, so I use my voice to, really help people. It's an old ancient Egyptian Hathor technology that I remembered. I thought I made it up. And then I was reading this, like I've been doing the same meditation for probably 30 years. And then I was reading this Egyptian book on the Hathors, and it was verbatim what I've been doing.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's what the grounding one is, the Hathor one. And the others are just implementing joy, like letting your unconscious start to get programmed with a new positive thought, because that's what we're here to do.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you so much. It's so generous. I know everybody's going to love that. And then also, I just recently had the pleasure of reading your book, which everyone needs to run out and purchase. It was so good. I was on a plane and I read it in the plane ride. I think it was, probably 5 hours going from Hawaii to the West Coast. And I cried like 3 or 4 times just from the stories in the book and all of the real life examples. And I love how you make astrology so accessible and tangible. So can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Oh, thank you. That makes me so happy.
Yeah, I was waterworks. The people next to me must have thought something was wrong, but it was a lot of times it was crying with a big smile on my face. So
joy. Yeah. The book is very simple. It's 4 personality types. You take a test in the middle of the book. It's the elements. It's really, there's no astrology in the book. Did you know that?
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is the elements. Yeah.
I did the book for people that didn't believe in astrology, but now they're buying it. So it's the personality types based on the 4 elements. I mean, it is astrology. Don't tell it, but it is. And you take the test on page 46. Then you read the chapter, what your missing element is, to increase your voltage, as in bringing in the discipline of whatever I always say there's 4 wheels. And if one wheel's down, the car goes off. So you're going to balance the 4 wheels. But I did use personal stories. I used very poignant people, human, normal, whatever they are called, to encourage people to see that they can do it too.
It was so inspiring. That's what it was. It was inspiring.
It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I don't think I'm a good writer, and I know everybody thinks I'm a good writer, but it took everything. My Jupiter and Virgo, my perfectionist, would not let me put that book out until I felt like people could chew on it. It wasn't just, I can't stand just talking. And it's called The Missing Element. You can get it on Amazon. It's now, on sale on Amazon. And it really will give you a concrete, practical astrological doorway, without being astrology, into how to balance your life. And you can buy on my website. I sign the editions. So if you go to my website, you can get a personal sign, and I put the chart in my card, and You get a personal version.
Awesome. Debra, you are such an inspiration. I just love talking to you, and I love the way that you approach life and astrology, and it's just the enthusiasm that just like,
I have a grand trine and fire. And it all points to my Saturn and Sag. So I know. I get so excited.
That's great. It's so nice.
It seems like by now I should be running out of steam.
No, keep going. I like it.
Thank you, Ann. Thank you for your work. I want to acknowledge that astrology is screaming right now in the collective unconscious to be reminded that there is a divine imprint. And we're praying to be able to have faith at a time when our government is looking so ridiculous. So for us to be able to hold the view from an astrology point of view that this too will pass, and it's part of what the prophets, it's my book's about. It's part of the prophecy, and that we are so thankful for people like you. You're really doing a big movement on people gathering together saying, is astrology real? And I'm here to tell you it is.
Yeah. Well, I think so too. And I would be the least likely person to be doing this role. I mean, like 7 years ago, 10 years ago, if you had told me, I'd be like, are you kidding? I don't even know what astrology is. But the reason why I love it so much is because of that divine blueprint, and because I really think if we're all living that in its full highest expression, that
the government
we won't. This place is gonna work. It's like it'll all just come together.
Exactly right.
I mean, it may take some time, but who knows? It could happen sooner than we think.
No such thing as time from the top down. We're right on schedule. Saturn's in Sag right now. The whole planet is having to be ruthlessly honest that we are effed up. So when you can admit that and not judge it, that enters in your power, which is, what are you going to do about that as a personal embodiment? How can I be healthy, and how can I be a government that's reasonable and honorable?
Oh, powerful. That's good stuff. All right, everybody. So if you would like to own these talks, the video, the audio, the transcripts, and all the bonuses for lifetime access, you can do so right now for only $97. After the summit's over, it's going to go to $197. So if you are thinking that you might be interested in this, now's the time. And this is, again, going to give you downloadable access so you can access the information and study it and review it and refer to it later at your convenience. So I want to thank all of you for showing up today, for making astrology a part of your life, and I will catch you on the next session.
Thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you, Debra.
You're welcome.